Lina tightened the straps of her old cleaning apron, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. She glanced up at the towering glass building in front of her, its lights still glowing even though it was well past working hours. Her heart pounded slightly, not from fear, but from unfamiliarity. This wasn't her usual workplace. She was only here because her best friend, Amira, had called her in a panic. Amira's daughter had fallen ill, and she needed someone to cover her night shift at the prestigious Hayes Corporation headquarters. Lina hesitated in the grand lobby, marble floors stretching out before her like a palace. A security guard nodded, pointing toward the elevator. She stepped in, gripping the cleaning supplies like armor. The executive floor was eerily quiet. Plush carpets muffled her footsteps, and framed photos of towering skylines lined the walls. She moved from office to office, wiping down glass desks, dusting shelves, trying not to touch anything she didn't have to. The space screamed wealth, sleek, modern, intimidating. In the corner, a small kitchenette caught her attention. As she refilled her mop bucket nearby, she heard a muffled curse. "Stupid machine." Startled, Lina peeked in. A man in a plain hoodie stood wrestling with the coffee machine, clearly frustrated. He didn't look like a CEO, more like someone from IT. Maybe even a janitor like her. "Need help?" she offered shyly, stepping closer. He looked up, startled, then laughed. "If you know how to fix this thing, I'll owe you big time." She smiled, her nerves slowly fading. "I might." She had no idea that the man fumbling with the coffee machine would change her life forever. Lina crouched slightly, inspecting the coffee machine with the precision of someone who'd fixed far more stubborn things in life than broken buttons. A few taps, a nudge, and then a smooth whir, coffee began to pour. The man grinned, clearly impressed. "Well," he said, holding out a steaming paper cup, "you've just saved my night." She chuckled, accepting it. "It's not a big deal. These machines just need a bit of patience. Like people." He looked at her then, not just at her, but into her, with a kind of quiet attentiveness that made Lina feel unexpectedly seen. They sat at the small table near the kitchenette, the only sound being the distant hum of the city through the windows. She kept glancing at the clock, she should be cleaning. But the ease between them was magnetic. For the first time in a long while, someone wasn't rushing past her or looking through her. He was, listening. "What do you do here?" she asked, sipping the surprisingly good coffee. "Bit of everything," he replied with a half-smile. "Mostly try to fix things when they break. Coffee machines, people, bad ideas." She laughed. "Sounds exhausting." "It can be," he said. "But sometimes, it's the little things that make it worth it. Like a quiet chat when you least expect it." There was something about his tone, gentle but layered. Lina liked that. He didn't seem arrogant like the men in suits she imagined worked on this floor. He looked like someone who stayed late because he cared. She figured he was a junior employee, maybe in operations. Not rich. Not powerful. Just kind. "I'm Lina," she finally said. He smiled again, this time softer. "Daniel." Neither of them knew it yet, but a single cup of coffee had just begun to rewrite both of their stories. The following night, Lina stepped into the Hayes Corporation building again, heart strangely lighter. What was supposed to be a one-time favor had turned into something she couldn't stop thinking about. The memory of that late-night conversation with Daniel lingered in her thoughts all day, the way he listened, the way he spoke without judgment. It was rare, that kind of presence. And she missed it, though she'd only known it for an hour. She pushed her cleaning cart out of the elevator and began her usual routine, wiping down tables and collecting stray coffee cups. Her footsteps echoed gently down the long, empty corridor of the executive floor. Then she heard it, two soft taps from the kitchenette. She peeked around the corner, her eyes widening. Daniel stood there, leaning casually against the counter, holding up 2 cups of coffee like a peace offering. "I took a risk," he said with a smile. "Thought maybe you'd show up again." Lina laughed, her cheeks warming. "You stalking the cleaning crew now?" "Only the ones who fix machines and make my night better." They sat again, this time with more ease. There were no introductions or hesitations, just an invisible thread picking up where it had left off. He asked about her dreams. She told him she used to write poetry but stopped after her father passed away. It felt silly, she said, to chase dreams when bills needed paying. Daniel didn't laugh. He leaned in closer. "Can I hear one?" She hesitated, then recited a short verse she had scribbled in a notebook years ago, about windows and walls, and the people who quietly cleaned them. Her voice trembled, but he didn't blink. He listened like it was a gift. When she finished, he whispered, "That was beautiful, Lina. You have something rare." And in that moment, under fluorescent lights and surrounded by the smell of disinfectant and old carpet, Lina felt something she hadn't in a long time, seen, valued, and alive. She still had no idea he was Daniel Hayes, CEO of the company whose floors she was cleaning. Lina arrived on the 4th night with an unmistakable skip in her step. The long shifts didn't feel so heavy anymore. She hadn't told anyone, not even Amira, about the man she'd been meeting after hours. It felt too precious, too fragile, like a candle flame in the wind. She reached the executive floor, expecting to find Daniel waiting in the kitchenette again. But instead, she heard voices. Serious, commanding. Curious, she followed the sound toward the boardroom, where the heavy glass doors were half closed. Inside, several men and women sat around a long table, their postures stiff and alert. At the head of the table stood Daniel. Not in his hoodie and jeans, but in a tailored navy suit, a sleek watch on his wrist, and an air of command she had never seen before. Someone addressed him as Mr. Hayes. Lina froze. Daniel Hayes. The name etched on every plaque in the building. The CEO. Her hand slipped, knocking over her mop bucket. Water sloshed across the marble floor as gasps turned toward her. Daniel turned too, his eyes meeting hers with shock, then something deeper. But Lina didn't wait. Humiliated, betrayed, and suddenly foolish, she turned and ran. All the warmth of the past nights crumbled in an instant. To her, he wasn't just a man anymore. He was a lie. And she was just the girl who'd mistaken a CEO for someone who could ever love her. A week passed. Lina didn't return to the Hayes building. She couldn't bear it, the thought of being just a passing amusement for someone so far out of reach. She told herself it didn't matter. She was a cleaner. He was a CEO. They were never meant to meet, let alone dream. Then, one evening, a courier arrived at her apartment. A small envelope with no sender, just her name in neat, familiar handwriting. Inside was a letter. "I didn't tell you who I was because I've spent years watching people only see the suit, the title, the wealth. But you saw me. And I saw you, really saw you. Not as a cleaner, not as someone beneath me, but as the most honest, beautiful soul I've ever met. Meet me. One last time. Rooftop. Midnight. Daniel." Against all logic, Lina went. There, under the stars, Daniel stood waiting, no suit, no entourage. Just the man she had first met beside a broken coffee machine. He held out a small notebook. "Your poetry belongs out in the world." Lina's voice trembled. "You could have told me. I was afraid you'd stop looking at me the way you did." She stepped closer. "I never stopped." And under the moonlight, 2 worlds finally met, without walls, without lies.